So when you say standalone basis, I'm going to talk about the India aluminium business. And the India aluminium business had an EBITDA of 3,364 crores, which has been the highest in the history of Hindalco. So our aluminium business came in at a 41% EBITDA, which I think is probably one of the highest worldwide. So this has been a great quarter for our aluminium business and the Hindalco India business overall. And I think that, two things that have driven this. On one side, you have had favorable macros. So the price of aluminium has been high. But I think on the other side, we have managed to keep the cost inflation under control in this quarter. So because of holding inventory and doing procurement upfront, we have managed to control the cost inflation, and hence the fall through and the margins in the Indian aluminium business at 41% have been the highest in a long time.
Okay, and if we were to talk about the pricing environment, because we have seen a 44% rise in aluminium prices on a year-on-year basis, they increased sequentially as well, and I would want to understand your outlook on aluminium prices, and assuming that prices continue to stay elevated with coupled with the operational efficiency, would that mean better results for the company going forward?
So I think the aluminium prices in quarter three were about $2,670 per ton. Already we are running at $3,000 plus in this January-February quarter that is going on. But it's also fair to say that the cost inflation continues. So I think that what is happening in our business is that the cost inflation continues, but the top line is also offsetting that cost increase because the LME prices keep going up. So I think what we would be very happy is to maintain the margins in Q4 versus Q3.
If we can just get a sense as to, you spoke about maintaining your overall margins, but, do you believe that the cost pressures are likely to ease going forward? And what is it that you believe will be the key margin drivers going forward?
I think that in our business, the LME price of aluminium drives the top line, and the costs of things like coal and carbon drive the cost line. So both of them are in some ways related, because the price of aluminium keeps going up, and the price of carbon and coal is also going up. So I think what we expect going forward is that cost inflation will continue, but at the same time, also the price of aluminium is keeping pace with it. So we do believe that in the second half of this calendar year, we hope that the cost inflation will start to flatten out.
Okay, fair enough. And what about the demand picture? You spoke about those cost pressures and how you would, potentially deal with that. But in a sense, can you give us a sense as to what your volumes could look like in the coming quarters for Q4, for FY23? And which are the sectors that you think will be the biggest demand drivers?
So I think that the good news is that the demand for aluminium and as well as copper is very strong, and it's driven by electrification, electric vehicles, solar panels, the whole digitization and electrification is driving the use of aluminium and copper. The second thing is aluminium is considered a green metal because it can be infinitely recycled. So on the demand side, in every sector, whether it is auto, whether it is housing in sector, whether it is packaging, we are seeing the demand for aluminium to be very strong going forward. So I think that on the volume side, we are going to try to ramp up as much of our capacity as possible. We think Novelis will be probably at a 4 million run rate, and in India we'll be producing about 1.3 million tons of aluminium and about 500,000 tons of copper.
Okay, that sounds fairly encouraging. And Mr. Pai, if we were to talk about the overall debt levels as well, we've seen the consolidated debt reduce quite significantly from 53,800 crores just last year to about 43,700 odd crores on December 31st, 2021. How long will this deleveraging exercise continue? And tell us what the debt levels are that the company is targeting.
So I think first thing, it would be fair to say that our deleveraging cycle is over. The India net debt to EBITDA is 0.7 now, and the Novelis is 2.3. So I think that, we are well below our targets for deleveraging that we had set ourselves, largely because of the good operational performance and the cash that we have generated. So I think that going forward, we'll be more focused now on putting the cash to use by doing organic capex projects. And we are not focused on deleveraging anymore. In the India business, we have a 6,000 crore bond coming up due in April, May, June, which we will pay off. But it would be fair to say that our deleveraging cycle has now come to an end and a growth cycle has started.
The European energy crisis has been dominating headlines. I want to understand from a business perspective what kind of an impact it has on your international business and your operations back home, and by when do you think we are likely to see some sort of a clarity emerge on that, because it's clearly impacting the way aluminium prices have been faring. Do you think that over the long term, say, there is some sort of a resolution here that we can see prices of aluminium globally stabilize?
So I think that, the European energy crisis are related to gas and what is happening there from a geopolitical point of view, which I hope will get resolved in the coming months. But it would be fair to say that, energy prices are high in Europe, but it has driven the price of aluminium high as well. And I think that most analysts do not expect aluminium prices to come down in the near future. So I think we are going to see a period of time where aluminium, copper prices are going to hold firm, at least for this calendar year.
Okay, prices to hold firm for this calendar year. Now, we spoke about your overall debt reduction. What would be the capex plans going forward? What is the capacity addition plan? What is it that Hindalco is targeting, given that you have been focusing quite a bit on organic expansion of late?
So, Hindalco, so Novelis has already declared projects worth $1 billion. And Hindalco in India, we have just finished 2 acquisitions. One was the Riker copper mill and the hydro extrusion plant in Kuppam that we just closed. And I think next year we are planning to spend about 3,000 crores doing the Silvassa extrusion expansion, as well as the FRP, which is a flat roll product expansion in Western Orissa. So a lot of organic projects, and we are going to be spending capex to the tune of 3,000 crores next year.
Okay. And finally, given the fact that your exports as well contribute a significant portion of the overall revenue pie, give us a sense of the global demand, because you're optimistic on the overall capacity addition. What is the desired breakup in terms of demand, domestic and international, when it comes to the revenue mix?
So look, again, I wanted to repeat that demand, whether it is in India or internationally, for aluminium is extremely strong. And I think that, currently we are doing about 52% of exports, and the rest is domestic sales. Both the markets, whether it's international or India, have come back to pre-COVID levels. So I think that going forward, we are going to maintain this sort of 50% exports, 50% domestic sales in the aluminium business. The copper business, we sell 90%, 95% of it domestically. The copper business is still a little bit off the pre-COVID levels. It's at about 84%. And we are hoping in Q4 that it will come back to about 90% of the pre-COVID levels.